The belt cracked against my skin, each lash a scream my father couldn't voice. I was 16, curled on the kitchen floor, the taste of blood sharp on my tongue. He found the letter I'd written to Jamie, my first love, and it shattered him. "You're no son of mine," he roared, his voice a thunder that shook our small Ohio home. The words cut deeper than the belt, slicing through the fragile hope I'd clung to. I'd known I was gay since I was 12, but I'd hidden it, terrified of this exact moment. My mother stood in the doorway, silent, her eyes glassy with tears she wouldn't let fall. That night, I packed a bag and ran, leaving behind a family that didn't want me. 15 years later, I stood outside that same house, now weathered and peeling, the porch sagging like it carried the weight of those years. I was 31, a graphic designer in Chicago, with a life I'd built from the ashes of that night. But a single phone call had dragged me back. My father was dying. Lung cancer. Stage 4. My sister, Ellie, begged me to come home, her voice trembling with a desperation I couldn't ignore. "He's asking for you, Caleb," she said. I didn't believe her, but I came anyway. The town hadn't changed much. Same dusty streets. Same corner diner with its flickering neon sign. I parked my rental car and stared at the house, my heart pounding like I was 16 again. The letter I'd written to Jamie had been my confession, my truth, scribbled in the quiet of my room. My father found it before I could send it, and his rage had been unstoppable. I hadn't spoken to him since, not even when Mom died 5 years ago. Ellie said he'd softened, that he regretted what he'd done. But I wasn't here for apologies. I was here because Ellie said he had something to tell Mezamething about a lie that had destroyed us all. I knocked, and Ellie opened the door, her face a mix of relief and exhaustion. She hugged me tightly, her blonde hair streaked with gray despite being only 35. "He's in the back room," she whispered, leading me through the house. The air smelled of antiseptic and old wood, a stark contrast to the life I'd built in Chicago with my partner, Ryan. Ryan had wanted to come, but I told him this was something I needed to face alone. Dad lay in a hospital bed, a husk of the man who'd towered over me. His skin was sallow, his breathing shallow, a tube snaking from his nose. His eyes, though, were the same piercing blue, sharp despite the sickness. "Caleb," he rasped, and I froze. It was the first time I'd heard my name in his voice since I was a kid. "Ellie said you wanted to see me," I said, my tone flat, guarding against the pain I knew could resurface. He nodded, gesturing to a chair. I sat, keeping my distance, my hands clenched in my lap. "I did wrong by you," he started, his voice breaking. "I was a fool. Scared. Angry. But there's something else. Something I need to tell you before." He coughed, wincing, and Ellie handed him water. I waited, my chest tight, unsure if I wanted to hear whatever he was about to say. He took a shaky breath. "Your mother, she didn't just die in that car accident. There was a lie. A big one. And it's why I pushed you away even more after you left." My heart lurched. Mom's death had been a wound I'd never fully healed from. She'd been distant after I came out, but I'd always believed she loved me, even if she didn't know how to show it. The accident had been Sedina drunk driver, they'd said. But the way Dad's eyes darted away, the way Ellie's hand tightened on his shoulder, told me there was more. "What lie?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked at me, tears welling in those fierce blue eyes. "She wasn't in the car alone. She was with someone. A woman." The words hit like a punch. My mother, the quiet, devout woman who'd stood silent while Dad beat me, had been with another woman. I couldn't process it. My mind raced, piecing together fragments of memories: her late-night drives, her secretive phone calls, the way she'd sometimes look at me like she wanted to say something but couldn't. Her name was Laura. Dad continued, his voice heavy with guilt. They were together for years. I found out a month before the accident. I couldn't handle it. I thought it was my fault, that I'd failed her. And when you told me about you, I saw her in you, and I lost it. I stood, my chair scraping against the floor. You're saying Mom was gay, and you knew, and you still... I couldn't finish. The room spun, the weight of his words crushing me. Ellie reached for my arm, but I pulled away. Caleb, please, she said. He's telling the truth. I found letters after Mom died. She loved Laura, but she was trapped. She wanted to tell you, but she was scared. I stumbled outside, the cool evening air hitting my face. My mother, gay, hiding it, just like I had. The irony was cruel, a twisted mirror of my own pain. I leaned against the porch railing, staring at the street where I'd once ridden my bike, dreaming of a life where I could be myself. Now, I was back, and the truth was unraveling everything I thought I knew. Dad's confession wasn't just about Mom. It was about him, about the lie he'd lived, blaming himself for her secret, and taking it out on me. But what was the lie that destroyed us all? He hadn't finished, and I wasn't sure I could go back inside to hear the rest. Not yet. I pulled out my phone and called Ryan. I don't know if I can do this, I said when he answered, my voice shaking. It's too much. Whatever it is, you're stronger than it, he said, his voice steady, grounding me. You don't have to forgive him. Just hear him out. For you, not for him. I hung up, staring at the house. The single lit window glowed like a beacon, pulling me back to a past I tried to bury. I had to know the rest. For Mom. For me. I walked back inside, my steps heavy, each one a battle against the urge to run again. Dad's eyes followed me, weary but desperate, like he was clinging to this moment to unburden himself. Ellie sat beside him, her hands folded tightly, her face a mask of worry. Tell me the rest, I said, my voice colder than I meant. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I needed answers. The revelation about Mom had cracked open a door to a past I'd never understood, and I couldn't walk away now. Dad coughed, his frail body trembling. Laura wasn't just your mother's lover, he said, the word catching in his throat like it burned. She was married. To a cop. A guy named Tom Hargrove. The name hit me like a brick. Tom Hargrove. I remembered him, a burly man with a loud laugh, always at the town's 4th of July barbecues, his badge glinting on his uniform. He'd been a friend of Dad's, or so I'd thought. My mind raced, trying to connect the dots. Tom found out about them. Dad continued. He confronted your mother that night. They were driving to talk, to figure things out. But he was drunk, furious. He ran a red light, and his voice broke, and he looked away, his hands shaking. The police report said it was an accident, but Tom made sure it wasn't investigated. He covered it up, said your mom was alone. I went along with it because I was ashamed. I didn't want the town knowing my wife was like that. I felt sick. My mother hadn't just died in a car crash. She'd been with Laura, caught in a moment of truth. And Tom's rage had killed them both. And Dad's father had buried the truth to save his pride. I wanted to scream. To shake him. To demand why he'd let me believe a lie for 5 years. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice rising. You let me think she just died. You let me carry that grief alone. I couldn't face it. He admitted, his eyes wet. I was angry. At her. At you. At myself. I thought if I told you, it'd make it real. And after what I did to you, I didn't think you'd want to hear from me. Ellie reached for my hand again. And this time I let her. Caleb. I didn't know until last year. She said. I found Mom's letters in the attic. Hidden in a box. She wrote about Laura. About how she loved her but felt trapped. She wrote about you. Too. How proud she was of you. Even if she couldn't say it. I pulled my hand away. Pacing the room. Proud. She stood there while you beat me. Dad. She didn't stop you. She didn't say a word. Dad's face crumpled. She wanted to. She told me later. After you left. She hated herself for it. But she was scared. Caleb. Scared of me. Of the town. Of what it meant for her to feel the way she did. I stopped pacing. My chest tight. My mother. Hiding her own truth. Watching her son suffer for his. It was too much to process. I thought of the letter I'd written to Jamie. How I'd poured my heart into it. Hoping for a future where I could be free. Mom must have felt the same. Trapped in a marriage. A town. A life that wouldn't let her breathe. What's the lie that destroyed us? I asked, circling back to his earlier words. You said a single lie destroyed our family again. What is it? Dad hesitated, glancing at Ellie. She nodded, urging him on. After your mom died, he said, I told everyone you ran away because you were troubled. A drug problem. I said, I couldn't admit it was because of me. Because of what I did when I found out you were gay. The town believed me. Even Ellie did. For a while. I stared at him. Disbelief turning to rage. You told people I was a junkie. To cover your shame. My voice shook. And I felt the old wounds reopening. Raw and bleeding. Do you know what that did to me? I was alone. Dad. I had no one. I know. He whispered. And I'm sorry. But that's not the worst of it. Last year, Tom came to me. He was drunk, ranting about Laura and your mom. He said he'd known about them for years. That he'd planned a crash. Not just an accident. He meant to kill them. The room went silent. The weight of his words suffocating. Ellie gasped, her hand covering her mouth. I felt like I'd been hit again. The ground shifting beneath me. My mother's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was murder. And my father had known. Had kept it secret. Letting Tom walk free. Why didn't you go to the police? I demanded. My fists clenched. I was scared. He admitted. Tom's a cop. Connected. I thought no one would believe me. And I was dying. Caleb. I didn't want my last days to be a fight I couldn't win. Ellie stood, her face pale. Caleb. I didn't know this part. I swear. I found out about the lie about you. The drugs. And I confronted him. That's when he told me about Mom and Laura. But this is new. I couldn't look at either of them. My mother's death. My father's betrayal. The lie that had painted me as a failureite was all too much. I walked out again. This time to the backyard. Where Mom's old garden had gone wild. I remembered her tending it. Her hands in the dirt. Humming softly. I'd thought she was happy then. Now I knew she was hiding. Just like me. I sank onto the grass, my head in my hands. Ryan's words echoed in my mind. You're stronger than it. But I didn't feel strong. I felt broken. Betrayed by a family that had never truly known me. And yet, I couldn't leave. Not yet. There was more to this story, and I needed to know it all even if it destroyed me. The stars were out now. Pinpricks of light in a sky that felt too vast for the pain I carried. I sat in Mom's overgrown garden, the scent of damp earth grounding me as I tried to make sense of Dad's confession. My mother, in love with a woman, killed by a man who couldn't accept it. My father, complicit in a lie that protected a murderer and smeared my name. I wanted to hate him, to walk away and never look back. But something held me here, need to understand, to reclaim the truth. Ellie found me, her silhouette framed by the porch light. Caleb, I'm so sorry, she said, sitting beside me. I should have pushed harder, made him tell me everything sooner. You didn't know? I said, my voice hollow. But you believed him. About the drugs. She winced, looking down. Not for long. When I found Mom's letters, I started asking questions. People in town still talk about you. You know. They pity you. Because of what Dad said. I tried to set it right. But, small towns. They hold on to stories. I nodded. Bitterness rising. I'd built a life in Chicago, friends. A career. Ryan, but the shadow of that lie had followed me. Old classmates had messaged me over the years, asking if I was clean now, their words dripping with false concern. I'd ignored them, but each one stung. What do we do now? I asked. Tom's still out there. A cop. Probably retired. Living like nothing happened. Ellie's jaw tightened. I've been digging. After I found the letters, I started looking into the accident. There's no record of Laura in the police report, just like Dad said. But I found her obituary. She was 42. A teacher. Survived by her husband, Tom. No mention of Mom. I clenched my fists, the anger surging again. He erased her. Both of them. We can't let him get away with it, Ellie said, her voice fierce. I've got a friend, a journalist in Columbus. She's willing to look into it. But we need evidence. Something concrete. I looked at her, surprised by the fire in her eyes. Ellie had always been the peacemaker, the one who stayed quiet to keep the family together. But now, she was ready to fight. For Mom. For me. Dad's too weak to help, I said. And he's dying. What's the point of dragging this up now? Because it's the truth, she said. Mom deserved better. You deserve better. And I'm not letting that bastard walk free while we're still picking up the pieces. Her words lit something in me. A spark of resolve. I'd spent 15 years running from this town. From the pain of that night on the kitchen floor. But running hadn't healed me. Maybe facing it would. The next morning, I woke on Ellie's couch. The smell of coffee pulling me from a restless sleep. She was at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers, Mom's letters, old newspaper clippings, a laptop open to a public records site. I've been up all night, she said, pushing a mug toward me. Look at this. She handed me a letter, written in Mom's neat handwriting. It was addressed to me, dated a week before her death. Dear Caleb, I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I see you. So brave. And I'm ashamed of my silence. I love someone. To a woman named Laura. I've kept it hidden. But it's killing me. I want to be free. Like you. One day, I'll tell you everything. I hope you'll forgive me. Love. Mom. My throat tightened, tears blurring the words. She'd seen me. She'd known. And she'd wanted to tell me. To bridge the gap between us. But she'd run out of time. There's more, Ellie said, pointing to the laptop. I found a traffic camera record from the night of the crash. It's grainy, but it shows two people in the car. The report lied. I stared at the screen. The blurry image of Mom's sedan frozen before the impact. Two silhouettes. Unmistakable. My heart pounded. This was proof that Tom had covered up the truth. Proof that he'd taken her from us. We need to talk to Dad again, I said, my voice steady for the first time since I'd arrived. He knows more. He has to. We found him awake, propped up in bed, his eyes clearer than the day before. I'm ready, he said before I could speak. I'll tell you everything I know about Tom. He spoke slowly, piecing together the night of the crash. Tom had called him, drunk and raging, saying he'd caught Laura and Mom together at a motel outside town. He'd forced Mom into the car, demanding answers. Dad didn't know the details of what happened next, but he'd heard enough to suspect Tom's intent. He came to me after. Dad said, told me to keep quiet, or he'd ruin what was left of our family. I was a coward. I agreed. I leaned forward, my voice low. Did he admit he meant to kill them? Dad nodded, his face ashen. He didn't say it outright, but he implied it. Said they got what they deserved. I should have gone to the police then. I'm sorry, Caleb. The apology didn't erase the years of pain, but it was a start. I looked at Ellie, her eyes blazing with the same determination I felt. We're going after him, I said. For Mom. For Laura. Dad reached for my hand, and for the first time in 15 years, I didn't pull away. His grip was weak, but it was there, a fragile thread connecting us. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I was ready to fight. Ellie's journalist friend, Sarah, met us at the diner that afternoon. The place was nearly empty, the lunchtime rush long gone, leaving only the hum of a jukebox and the clink of dishes. Sarah was in her 40s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense, her notebook already open on the table. I've looked into Tom Hargrove, she said, sliding a folder toward us. He retired 2 years ago, but he's still got pull in this town. Friends in the police department, the mayor's office. If he covered up a double homicide, he had help. I flipped through the folder news articles about Tom's heroic career. A photo of him shaking hands with the mayor, his smug grin unchanged from the barbecues of my childhood. There was also a copy of the crash report, conspicuously vague, and a grainy still from the traffic camera Ellie had found. My stomach churned seeing Mom's car again, knowing she wasn't alone. What do we need to do? Ellie asked, her voice steady but urgent. Sarah leaned forward. We need more than this. The camera footage is a start, but it's not enough to reopen a case. We need a witness, or physical evidence tying Tom to intent. Your dad's testimony could help, but he's dying, and a jury might see him as unreliable. I thought of Dad, frail in his bed, his guilt finally spilling out after years of silence. He'll talk, I said. He wants to make this right. Sarah nodded, jotting notes. Good. But we also need to be careful. Tom's connected, and he's dangerous. If he suspects you're digging, he'll push back. I glanced at Ellie, her jaw set. We're not backing down, she said. This is for Mom. Sarah gave us a list of Leeds people who might have known about Mom and Laura, like Laura's colleagues at the school where she taught. Start there, she said. But don't confront Tom directly. Not yet. That evening, Ellie and I drove to the school, a squat brick building on the edge of town. It was after hours, but a janitor let us in, recognizing Ellie from her volunteer work. We found an old yearbook in the library, Laura's photo smiling back at us. She had kind eyes, a warm smile someone Mom could have loved. I traced her face with my finger, wondering what their life together might have been like. We tracked down a retired teacher, Ms. Carter, who'd worked with Laura. She lived in a tidy bungalow, her porch lined with flower pots. When we explained why we were there, her face softened. Laura was my friend, she said. I knew about her and your mom. They were careful, but I saw the way they looked at each other. Did you know about Tom? I asked, my heart pounding. Ms. Carter's expression darkened. Everyone knew Tom was trouble. He'd show up at the school sometimes, drunk, yelling about Laura working late. I warned her to leave him, but she was scared. Said he'd never let her go. Did she ever say he was violent? Ellie pressed. Ms. Carter hesitated, then nodded. Once. She had bruises on her arm. Said Tom grabbed her during an argument. She made me promise not to tell. I wish I hadn't listened. Her words hit hard. Laura had been trapped, just like Mom. Two women, hiding their love, caught in a web of fear and violence. I felt a surge of anger not just at Tom, but at the town that had turned a blind eye, at the system that let him walk free. Back at the house, Dad was awake, his breathing labored but his eyes alert. Did you find anything? He asked. I told him about Ms. Carter, about the camera footage, about Sarah's plan. He listened, his face etched with pain. I should have done this years ago, he said. I let fear stop me. Don't make my mistake. Caleb. I looked at him. The man who'd broken me all those years ago, now broken himself. I'm not doing this for you, I said. I'm doing it for Mom. And for me. He nodded, tears slipping down his cheeks. That's enough. That night, I called Ryan again, needing his voice to anchor me. I'm scared, I admitted. What if we can't prove it? What if Tom gets away with it? You're not alone this time, Ryan said. You've got Ellie, Sarah, even your dad now. And you've got me. Always. His words steadied me, reminding me of the life I'd built, the love I'd found. I wasn't the scared 16-year-old anymore. I was stronger, and I had people who believed in me. But as I hung up, a chill ran through me. Tom was still out there, and we were getting closer to the truth. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching, waiting for us to make a move. The next day, Ellie got a call from Sarah. I found something, she said, her voice tense. A witness. Someone who saw Tom that night, before the crash. Meet me tomorrow at the diner. As we hung up, Ellie grabbed my hand. This is it. Caleb. We're going to get him. I nodded, but my stomach twisted. The truth was within reach, but so was the danger. Tom had killed before to protect his secrets. What would he do to protect them now? The diner was busier than before, the morning crowd filling the booths with chatter and the clatter of plates. Sarah sat in the back, her face grim as she slid a photo across the table. It was Tom, younger, standing outside a bar, his arm around a man I didn't recognize. The timestamp was the night of the crash. "This is Mike Danner," Sarah said. He was a bartender at the Rusty Nail, a dive bar outside town. He saw Tom that night, drunk and ranting about Laura and your mom. Said Tom left the bar around 10, right before the crash. My heart raced. Will he talk? Sarah nodded. He's nervous, but he's willing. He moved to Dayton after the crash. Said he couldn't stay in a town that protected a guy like Tom. I've got his number. Ellie and I exchanged a look. This was the break we needed, a witness who could place Tom in a volatile state just before the crash. But it also meant we were stepping into dangerous territory. Tom wasn't just a retired cop. He was a man with a history of violence. And we were about to challenge his carefully constructed lie. We drove to Dayton that afternoon. The 2-hour trip tense and quiet. Ellie gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. What if he won't talk when we get there? She asked. Then we convince him, I said, trying to sound confident. But inside, I was terrified. This wasn't just about Justice Anna Maria, it was about facing the man who'd taken my mother, who'd shaped the pain of my past. Mike Danner lived in a rundown apartment complex, the kind where the paint peels and the stairs creak. He was in his 50s, wiry, with a nervous energy that made him pace as he spoke. I don't want trouble, he said, glancing out his window. Tom's got friends. Even now. We're not here to cause trouble, Ellie said. We just want the truth. For our mom. Mike sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. That night, Tom was wasted. Kept talking about how Laura betrayed him, how he'd make her pay. He mentioned another woman, your mom, I guess. Said he was going to confront them. I tried to calm him down, but he stormed out. Next day, I heard about the crash. Did you tell anyone? I asked, my voice tight. I tried, he said. Went to the police, but they brushed me off. Said it was an accident. Case closed. I knew Tom was tight with the chief. I left town after that. His story matched Dad's, and it filled in the gaps the police report had ignored. Tom hadn't just been drunk, been enraged, intent on confrontation. The crash wasn't an accident. It was a culmination of his anger. We need you to go on record, Ellie said. Sarah's writing a story. With your testimony, the camera footage, and Dad's statement, we can reopen the case. Mike hesitated, his eyes darting to the door. If I talk, he'll come for me. We'll protect you, I said, though I wasn't sure how. We're not letting him win this time. Mike nodded, reluctant but resolute. All right. For Laura. She was a good person. Didn't deserve what happened. We left Dayton with his signed statement. A small victory that felt monumental. But as we drove back, Ellie's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. My blood ran cold. Tom knew we were onto him. When we got home, Dad was worse. His breathing ragged. His face pale. But he insisted on talking. I kept something else, he said, pointing to a box under his bed. Ellie pulled it out, revealing a stack of letters, Mom's, Laura's, and one from Tom, written to Dad after the crash. Keep your mouth shut, or I'll make sure Ellie pays for it. The letter read. It was a threat, plain and simple. Proof of Tom's guilt and his willingness to protect it at any cost. This is enough, Ellie said, her voice shaking with anger. We've got him. But I wasn't so sure. Tom's text meant he was watching, and he wasn't going to let us expose him without a fight. I called Sarah, updating her on Mike's statement and the letter. We need to move fast, she said. I'm pitching this to my editor tomorrow. If we go public, Tom won't be able to hide. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Mom's face. Her letter's words echoing, I want to be free. Like you. She'd never had the chance. But I could give her justice. I could give myself the closure I'd been denied for 15 years. The next morning, we met Sarah at her office in Columbus. She drafted the article, laying out the evidence, the camera footage, Mike's testimony, Dad's confession, Tom's threatening letter. It was damning, but incomplete without a direct confrontation. I'm going to talk to Tom, I said. The word surprising even me. Ellie and Sarah protested, but I was resolute. He needs to know we're not afraid. And I need to see his face when he realizes we know. Ellie grabbed my arm. Caleb, he's dangerous. Let the police handle it. The police protected him before, I said. This is personal. For Mom. For me. Sarah gave me Tom's address, a house on the outskirts of town. As I drove there, my heart pounded, but I felt a strange calm. I'd spent years running from this pain, but now I was facing it head-on. For the first time, I felt like the son Mom had been proud of. Tom's house was a squat ranch style, its lawn overgrown, a faded American flag hanging limp by the door. I parked a block away, my hands shaking as I gripped the steering wheel. This was a man who'd taken my mother, who'd buried the truth to save himself. I clutched the folder with our evidence, a shield against the fear creeping up my spine. I knocked, and Tom answered, his bulk filling the doorway. He was older, heavier, but his eyes were the same, cold, calculating. Caleb, he said, his voice smooth, like we were old friends. Heard you were back. I know what you did, I said, cutting through his pretense. To my mom. To Laura. It wasn't an accident. His smile faltered, but he recovered quickly, stepping onto the porch and closing the door behind him. You've been talking to your dad. Huh. He's dying. Caleb. Probably confused. We have proof, I said, holding up the folder. Camera footage. A witness. Your letter to my dad. It's over. Tom. For a moment, he was silent, his eyes narrowing. Then he laughed. A low, ugly sound. You think you can take me down? This town owes me. I kept it safe for years. Your mom and Laura, they were trouble. They made their choices. His words ignited a fury I'd buried for years. They loved each other, I said, my voice steady. And you killed them for it. Just like you tried to break me for being who I am. Tom stepped closer, his bulk looming. Careful, boy. You don't want to end up like them. I didn't back down. I'm not a boy anymore. And I'm not alone. The truth's coming out, whether you like it or not. He lunged, grabbing my shirt, but I shoved him back, adrenaline surging. Touch me, and you'll make this worse for yourself, I said. Sarah's article drops tomorrow. You're done. Tom's face twisted, but he let go, stepping back. You'll regret this, he hissed, echoing the text he'd sent Ellie. But I saw fear in his eyes, a crack in his armor. I walked away, my heart pounding, but my head high. For the first time, I felt like I'd taken back something he'd stolen me, power. My voice. The next day, Sarah's article hit the front page of the Columbus Dispatch. It was explosive, detailing Tom's cover-up, backed by Mike's testimony, the camera footage, and Dad's statement. By noon, the state police were at Tom's door, and by evening, he was in custody, charged with 2 counts of manslaughter and obstruction of justice. Ellie and I watched the news from Dad's bedside, his hand weak but warm in mine. "You did it," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "For her." "For us," I said, my throat tight. I didn't forgive him, not fully, but I understood him now. His fear, his shame, his regret. He'd failed me, but he was trying to make it right. Even at the end. Dad died 2 weeks later. Quietly. With Ellie and me by his side. I grieved not just for him, but for the family we might have been. For the years lost to lies and pain. At his funeral, I saw faces from my past classmates, neighbors, people who'd believed the lie about my drug problem. Some apologized. Others avoided my gaze. But I didn't care. I'd reclaimed my truth. Ellie and I scattered Mom's ashes in her garden, where she'd once found peace. I read her letter aloud, her words a bridge between us. Even now, I want to be free. Like you. She hadn't made it. But I had. And I'd fought for her. Back in Chicago, Ryan greeted me with a hug that felt like home. "You're incredible," he said. And for the first time, I believed it. The lie that had destroyed our family dad's story about my addiction. Tom's cover-up of Mom's death had been undone. But it was love that rebuilt us. Mom's love for Laura. Ellie's love for me. Ryan's love that carried me through. I kept Mom's letter on my desk. A reminder of her courage. Her struggle. Her pride in me. The pain of my past would always be there. But so would the strength I'd found. I was free. Not just from the lies, but from the fear that had once defined me. And in that freedom, I carried Mom's legacy forward. Living the life she dreamed, awful life or love. No matter who it's for. Could shine without shame.